Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to do something slightly different than what you're used to. I'm going to walk through the whole Laravel Bootcamp in this video. Just a couple of days ago, Laravel released the pure Blade version of the Bootcamp. Previously, they also had the Inertia and React and Vue variants. But I think the Blade version is really nice to have because it has a very low level entry barrier. And so, yeah, I want to go through it, maybe add some comments here and there. And as you can hear, this is unscripted, so it's a totally different style of video that I'm making. But I hope that it might be interesting and that you can learn something from it if you're new to Laravel or if you just started out. So let's just start with the bootcamp here. Learn the PHP framework for web artisans. Okay, the introduction. Welcome to the Laravel Bootcamp. In this guide, we'll walk you through building a modern Laravel application from scratch. To explore the framework, we'll build a micro-blogging platform called Chirper, I don't know. Choose your own adventure, Blade or JavaScript. We're going to go with Blade, which is the simple yet powerful templating engine that is included with Laravel. Great. Your HTML will be rendered server-side, so nothing JavaScript related. And we'll also be using Tailwind CSS, the popular CSS framework that's especially used in lots of Laravel projects. So great. I know a little bit of Tailwind. I really like it because it allows me to just don't really think about all the CSS related stuff. So that's great. We're going to build Chirper with Blade. Quick installation. If you have already installed PHP and Composer, which I do, you may create a new Laravel project via Composer. Well, thank you. Let's do that. And here we are. Great. After the project has been created, start Laravel's local development server using the artisan CLI serve commands. That's, I think it's great that they're actually teaching this with the built-in PHP server because it makes it so it's even a lower entry barrier. You don't need to be bothered with setting up Valet or something MEMP or WAMP related. You can just run it from PHP, which I think is really great. So for simplicity, you may use SQLite to store your application's data. That's again a great idea here. Let's continue to instruct Laravel to use SQLite instead of MySQL. Update your new application's environment file and remove all the DB environment variables except for the DB connection, which should be SQLite. Okay, let's quickly boot up PHP Storm. And here we have it. Let's check out our environment file. And we could remove everything except for DB connection, which should be SQLite. Again, something that really lowers the entry barrier. You don't need to be bothered with installing a MySQL server. This is just great for a bootcamp. Okay, installing via Docker, we're not going to do that. And I guess that's all the same. Yeah, okay. We're just running it locally. Installing Laravel Breeze. Next, we will give your application a head start by installing Laravel Breeze, a minimal, simple implementation of all of Laravel's authentication features, including login, registration, password reset, email. Okay, a mouthful. Once installed, you are welcome to customize the components to suit your needs. Breeze offers several options for your view layer, including Blade templates, which we want, Vue React Inertia, which we don't want. For this tutorial, yes, we're going to use Blade. Okay, open a new terminal in your Chirper project and install the chosen stack with these commands. Great, let's do that. Let's move this to right. Something like this. And the next step will be to run npm dev Breeze will install and configure your front-end dependencies for you. So we just need to start the Vite development. So, oh yes, this is great. This is something relatively new to Laravel. I think I didn't really work with it before. The Vite development server, which will also auto-refresh and stuff like that. So I really like that. I'm just going to run the command here. Dev and Vite. Okay. I think that's done. Let's just continue. Finally, open another terminal in your Chirper project and run the initial database migration. Yes, okay. Let's open a new one. Would you like to create it? Oh, there's an error. Oh. Okay, so I thought Laravel would create this file for me out of the box. Shouldn't it? Let's just add it. I think this is the right path. So Chirper database.sqlite. Let's rerun this. Okay, that's done. Strange that it didn't create it for us. I think, well, I don't know. Let's just continue. If you refresh your new Laravel application in the browser, you should see a register link. Yes, because we installed Laravel Breeze. Here it is, register. And look, it works. Let's take a look. Register yourself an account. Okay, Brent. Let's just use the example. A very strong password here. yeah, okay. And okay, this looks good. This is Laravel Breeze. Kind of amazing if you think about it. We haven't written a single line of code, and here we have a fully featured login system and a basic dashboard available that we can start working in. So that's pretty cool. I think we're ready to start creating chirps. Chirps? I don't know. Now you're ready to start building your new application, which I think we're 5 minutes in or something. This is great. This is Laravel. It does a lot of the things for you. Awesome. Models, migrations, and controllers. To allow users to post chirps, we will need to create models, migrations, and controllers. Let's explore each of these concepts a little deeper. Models provide a powerful and enjoyable interface for you to interact with the tables in your database. Yeah, okay. I don't really like this definition, actually, because models are so much more than just query builders, which basically this is what it's saying. But okay, let's move on. Migrations allow you to easily create and modify the tables in your database. Yeah, that's good. They ensure that the same database structure exists everywhere that your application runs. Yeah. Controllers are responsible for processing requests made to your application and returning a response. That makes sense. Almost every feature you build will involve all of these pieces working together in harmony. This is great. Yeah. I think what's missing here is the mention of views, of course, but we'll probably come back to that in a minute. Let's create a model, migration, and resource controller for Chirps with the following command. Great. Let's run this command. And, I think what I would have liked to see here is, let's take a look. Artisan, make model, and help. So we had MRC as the flags. M is migration, that makes sense. R is resource, and C is controller. So it's actually MCR probably. So we're going to create a controller and indicates if the generated control should be a resource control. Okay. Yeah, I think it would have been clearer to just use the flags here instead of the like the shorthand flags, but that's a minor detail. So we created a couple of files here, models. Let's take a look. Models, chirp. Yeah, that's right. That's the default Laravel model. And then a migration file, chirps table. Good. And the chirp controller. Yeah, looking good. Okay, so this is Yeah, Laravel generates all these doc blocks, which, I mean, they might be interesting for new users, but I think they add a lot of noise. And I happen to know a package from Spatie that actually removes those doc blocks. So let's just pull it in because I'm going to get crazy having to remove doc blocks everywhere. Spatie Laravel Stubs, I think it's called, something like that. Opinionated Laravel Stubs, I like that. Okay, let's add it like so. And if you want to keep your stubs up to date, add this in Composer JSON. That makes sense. Scripts and one post update command. That's over here. Okay. And you can publish the stubs once like so. Okay. I think that's done. From now on, every time we create a new file with the artisan make command, I don't think it will have any doc blocks anymore. Good. Routing. We will also need to create URLs for our controller. We can do this by adding routes, which are managed in the routes directory. Because we're using a resource controller, we can use a single route resource statement to define all the routes following a conventional URL structure. To start with, we're going to enable two routes, the index route and the store route, to create a new chirp. And we're going to place these routes behind two middleware, the auth middleware, to ensure that only logged in users can access the route, and the verified middleware will be used if you decide to enable email verification for users. Yeah, well, of course, that's not enabled here, but that's of course important in real life projects. Let's import this class here. Good. And let's once again take a look at the chirp control: index, create, store, show, edit, update, destroy. So everything we need for a basic CRUD controller, right? Good. This will create the following routes. That's good. Let's test our route and controller by returning a test message from the index method. Like this. If you're still logged in from earlier, you can see your message when navigating to /chirps. Let's do it over here, chirps. Hello world, yeah, great. And here we come to Blade. Not impressed yet. Let's update the index method of our chirp controller class to render a Blade view. Okay. And of course, create this Blade file and use everything like this. It doesn't have a highlighting for some reason. Let's index Blade. Okay, now it works. Okay, so one thing I notice is that Laravel is using like Blade components for default layouting now, which I think is really great. And also the use of like Blade components for forms is very nice. They're not using anything for text area, just styling it using Tailwind here. That's okay. Let's refresh our page. Okay, this looks something. That's it. Refresh your page in your browser. It doesn't really look like this. If your screenshot, okay, doesn't quite look like the above. You may need to stop and start the Vite development server for Tailwind to detect the CSS. I mean, this is so strange, don't you think? It's 2022, and we still have to start and stop and start again to actually fix something. Yeah, okay. This is the auto refresh. It's fixed now. Okay, good enough. Not complaining. From this point forward, any changes we make to Blade templates will be automatically refreshed. See, why wasn't that possible before? I don't get it. It's not because it's a new file, because we'll probably create new Blade files. But okay, I'm going to leave it behind now. Navigation. Let's take a moment to add a link to the navigation menu provided by Breeze. update the navigation.blade file over here and add a navlink. So I think it would be useful if these code blocks contained like line numbers, because now I have to search for something like dashboard, and there are two. It's desktop screen, also for mobile screen. Okay, so there are two menus. Hang on a second. Responsive navlink and normal navlink. Responsive. Okay, this is strange. Why do you need two times? Maybe if you want different menus for mobile and okay, just I'm going going to follow it. Our form has been configured to post messages to the chirps.store route that we created earlier. Let's actually look at our form here. Yeah, it's going to post to chirps.store exactly. It has a CSRF token, which is something Laravel requires by default. It adds some spam protection, basically. Text area for the message, error over here, and the button to submit the form, I guess. And let's update the store method of our chirp controller class, of course, to validate the data and create a new chirp. Okay, let's go to chirp controller and the store method like so. Okay, so let's quickly run through this. We're going to validate the request message is the only field it's required. It's string and it has a maximum length of 255 characters. Next step is that we're going to update the chirps of the current user, the currently logged in user, and create a valid. Okay, so we're going to create a chirp for the logged in user with the validated data. Personally, this isn't the style I prefer to use. I would like to prefer to write something like chirp create user ID request user, something like this. And of course, add the message here as well. Or maybe even shorter if you have multiple fields, like something like this. But I think this is way more expressive than this one-liner. And you see, this is just my personal preference. I think Laravel sometimes it just takes a little bit too many shortcuts for the sake of developer experience. But personally, I find this more readable. But I'm going to stop ranting about it. This is perfectly fine, of course, as well. We're using Laravel's powerful validation. Okay, they're going to explain what happened here. I already did that. Creating a relationship. You may have noticed in the previous step that we called a chirps method on the request user object. Okay, I explained that. We need to create this method on our user model to define a has many relation. That's right. The user model still doesn't have a lots of doc blocks here. Let's remove them. So chirps. Okay, so I'm also going to add return type here. I didn't know Laravel by default, or at least their own homemade style guide said you'd had to write it like this, which I assume it does because this is the bootcamp we're following. But so basically we're saying one user has many chirps. In essence, it means that the chirp has a field user ID, which references to a single user. That's a has many relation from the other side around, from the point of view of the user, of course. Something that I think about now, we haven't updated our migration yet, which we'll still have to do. We'll probably run into it. Yes, mass assignment protection. Passing all the data from a request to your model can be risky. Imagine you have a page where users can edit their profiles. If you were to pass the entire request to the model, then a user could edit any column they like, such as an isAdmin column. This is called mass assignment vulnerability. I really don't think, we already the controller has already validated that we only want message to be present in this validated array. So there already is a, what should I say, a security layer here, and I really don't think Laravel models should be concerned about which fields can be assigned using this syntax here, which don't. But that's just me again. Laravel protects you from accidentally doing this by blocking mass assignment by default. Mass assignment is very convenient though, as it prevents you from having to assign each attribute one by one. So right now this won't work, this syntax. So we would actually have to create a new chirp, something like this, I think, and then say chirp message equals value. Something like this would work. But you know, they should really get rid of mass assignment protection by default, I would say. But let's go to the chirp model. And okay, let's say message is always fillable. Good. You can learn more about Laravel's mass assignment protection in the documentation. The main, I don't know if I should rant about this or not, but this doesn't solve the problem that it claims it's solving, because say there's an edit form, right? And you only want users to be able to edit name, email, and password, and of course not is admin, right? The problem here is that there might be an admin user form that contains these fields, but also allows admins of the site to make our users admin. So what happens quite often is that, right, this fillable field is then added anyway, because there is some kind of form that actually needs it, and you don't want to be bothered with mass assignments errors over there. So I'm going to stop ranting. Okay, let's continue. I'm totally fine. This is the default Laravel style, and that's totally okay. I just really don't think mass assignment should be the default. So updating the migration. The only thing that is missing is extra columns in our database, sort of relationship, and the message itself. Remember the database migration we created earlier? It's time to open that file and to add some extra columns. This is actually interesting. When I create new models and create a new feature, I always start with the migration, because that's usually the starting point for me, the data model, right? And so this kind of feels the other way around for me, but that's of course something completely personal. Let's continue. We haven't migrated yet. Okay, let's call artisan migrate. That looks good. And let's test it out. Okay, hello. Let's chirp. And of course, nothing will show yet. If you leave the message field empty or enter more, okay, let's try it like this. There's an error message. That's great. And a very long message. This is validated as well. It's very nice. This is a great time to learn about Artisan Tinker, a redevel print loop where you can execute arbitrary PHP code in your Laravel application. In your console, start a new Tinker session, like so. Here we are. And next, execute the following code to display the chirps in your database. Okay, so I don't really use Tinker because, first of all, there's no auto-completion, which I really dislike. And like this aliasing, because I should have actually written like something like this. I think it works as well. Let's try it out. Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't use Tinker a lot. Never actually. So that's okay. In fact, we did see that we actually added our hello message here, chirp, I should say. So that's great. That's great. Thank you, Tinker. You may exit Tinker. Thank you. I will do so. Bye-bye. And let's continue to start showing chirps. Okay. In the previous step, we added the ability to create chirps. Now we're ready to display them. Let's update the index method of our chirp controller class to pass chirps from every user to our index page. Okay, let's do exactly that. Let's go to our chirp controller index. So we're going to get all chirps here. I think latest. What does latest do? Latest. Add an order by clause for timestamp. Okay. You see, that's an interesting name. I would think latest would also mean adding a limit of 1, but I don't think that's what it's doing. So query latest column. No, it only adds an order by. Okay. I guess it's called latest because of the time aspect here. But yeah, I can't think of a better name myself. So we're also using the user, loading the user relation here. I mean, which is good, but I don't think we actually added it. No. Here we've used Eloquence with method to eager load every chirps associated user, which is great for performance, of course. It means that we're not going to do a database query for every time we call the user of a chirp, but we're going to load all users in at once, which significantly improves performance. We've also used the latest scope to return. Okay, we checked that. Connecting users to chirps. We still have to do this. We've introduced Laravel, instructed Laravel to return the user relationship so that we can display the name of the chirps author, but the chirps user relationship hasn't been defined yet. To fix this, let's add a new belongs to relation. So this is the basically the inverse of let's go to user here. It's the inverse relation of this, because a chirp, it has a user ID, so it belongs to a user, which means that multiple chirps can belong to the same user. So one user can have many chirps. Let's continue. This relation, okay. I'm always saying it seems like what the bootcamp is saying as well. I guess that's a good sign. Updating our view, let's update our chirps.index component to display the chirps below our form. Okay. Let's copy this over and go to chirp index like this and add this one over here. Again, it would be nice to have like line numbers here, make it a little bit easier. Let's take a look real quick. We're going to loop over all the chirps. We're going to, I don't know, this is some kind of icon probably. And we're going to show the username, the created date, and the actual message. Can I refresh? Hang on a second. Now let's take a look in your browser. Yeah, I can. I'm allowed to. Oh, it was already refreshed, of course, because of feed. Yeah, nice. All right, nice. Hello, that's the chirp. Great. Feel free to chirp some more or even register another account and start a conversation. Well, let's quickly do that. Brand 2. And password. It's a very safe password. Chirps. Okay, and hi there. This is from brand 2. Nice. Let's continue to allow the editing of chirps. Okay, let's add a feature that's missing from other popular bird-themed microblogging platforms, the ability to edit chirps. That's actually not true. Twitter is working on Twitter edit, is working on the edit tweet feature. So you should probably update this. Routing. First, we will update our routes file to enable the chirps.edit and chirps.update routes for our resource controller. The chirps.edit route will display the form for editing chirps, while the chirps.update route will accept the data from the form and update the model. So basically we'll have to change this line here to allow edit and update. Our route table for this controller now looks like this. That's great. Linking to the edit page. Let's link to our new edit route. We'll use the X drop-down component that comes with Breeze, which will only display to the chirp author. We'll also display an indication if a chirp has been edited by comparing the chirps created at date with its updated at date. Okay, especially here line numbers would be useful. So in the chirp under the edit date thingy, guess that's here. And then over here, let's take a look. So unless the chirp created at equals updated at, will show edited. I don't know about unless. I think this reads much better. Let's copy this. So if the created at field not equal updated at, we should do this. But I'm going to keep it as it's shown here. They probably just used unless to let new users know that it exists. So, and then we added this piece as well. So if chirp user is auth user, so if the user of the chirp is the same as the logged in user, we'll show the drop down with an icon and an edit thingy. So I'm logged in as Brand2 and I can edit my chirp. Great. Creating the edit form. Because we're still on an empty page, of course. Let's create a new blade file with a form for editing a chirp. This is similar to the form for creating chirps, except we'll post to the chirps update route and use the add method directive to specify that we're making a batch request. We'll also pre-populate the field with the existing chirp message. So basically, an edit form. Chirps edit .blade, and so we have our CSRF again, method patch, to explain that. And here we'll use the old function to pre-populate. And I guess, let's take a look. So what this function does is that if we submit the form and there is an error and we get returned to the same page, the previously submitted value is stored somewhere in session as message, so we can retrieve that. But if it isn't present yet, we'll use the chirp message, so the original value to start with, basically. Okay, that makes sense. Updating our controller. Let's update the edit method of our chirp controller to display our form. Laravel will automatically load the chirp model from the database using a route model binding, so we can pass it straight to the view. We'll then update the update method to validate the request and update the database. Update. Even though we're only displaying the edit button to the author of the chirp, we still need to make sure the user accessing these routes is authorized. That's a very good point. Let's first go to our edit method here. Is it shown? Let's take a look. Edit. Yeah, let's add this. Let's not authorize it at all. Let's go back here. So here we can edit our own chirp, but if we were to change the URL, we could edit another user's chirp as well. We really don't want that. So let's add authorize again. If we refresh, basically everything is forbidden now, but we'll probably add a policy for that soon. Let's first copy over the update method, calling authorize, validate the data. We already did this. Update the chirp and redirect to the index page. That's good. And they mentioned route model binding. we have like this URL, chirps, chirp, edit. And so in the URL, there's an ID here, 1 or 2. And Laravel is actually able to automatically convert that ID to a chirp and load it from the database so that we don't have to deal with like getting a chirp ID and then having to manually chirp find something like this. Chirp, it's all fine. Let's do it like this. Great. Authorization. By default, the authorize method will prevent everyone from being able to update the chirp. So that's what we're seeing here. We cannot edit chirp number 1, but we should be able to edit number 2 because that's the one we created. And Laravel doesn't allow that, but that's because we're still missing something. Let's add a model policy, the chirp policy. Let's do it like this. Chirp policy. Okay. Yes. No dog blocks. Great, great. I love the Spatie stubs package. So let's take a look. This will create a policy class, which we can update to specify that only the author is authorized to update a chirp. So what a policy class is, let's go back to our controller. And you can see we call this authorize. And we say, we're basically asking Laravel, are we authorized to update this chirp, right? And underneath, what Laravel will do is resolve the currently logged in user, for one, and it will resolve the chirp policy. It will resolve this class because it knows, maybe we have to map it, I'll come back to that in a second, but it knows that if we get a chirp model, like this one, we should use this class. And then in this case, we ask if we can update the chirp. So go to the update method. And over here, we'll have to say whether this user, that's the logged in user, is allowed to update this chirp. And basically that means, so return chirp user is user. Again, this is like with the relation methods. I would personally write something like return chirp user, or I'm probably write it like this: user is chirp user, but this works as well. Maybe this is a little bit more performance because it's actually going to perform a database query, but not load the user relation of the chirp, which might actually have some better performance. So let's stick with this, testing it out. So we used to have forbidden here. We can now see our chirp, and if we go to number 1, we're not allowed to edit it. So that's great. Can we actually edit the chirp? Let's hide there. Yeah, look at that. It's it works, and it's shown that it's edited. Great. Okay, and let's continue to allow deleting. So sometimes no amount of editing can fix a message. So let's give our users the ability to delete their chirps. Hopefully you're starting to get the hang of things now. Yeah, we think you'll be impressed how quickly we can add this feature. Well, I don't think I will be this impressed because I was already impressed with how fast we added all of the previous stuff. So for routing, of course, we'll have to add the destroy method, like so. Updating our controller. We can now update the destroy method on our chirp controller. And let's do just that, destroy, authorize in our chirp policy. We'll probably have to fix that as well. So we'll authorize, then we'll delete, and then we'll return. Authorization, as with editing, we only want our chirp authors to be able to delete chirp. So basically, this is the same. I think it's really strange to do this because once in real life applications, so basically we're saying if the user can update the chirp, we're allowed to delete it. But that's not necessarily always the case. And if you have like complex policies, say someone of your team changes this method here without actually knowing that it's used by the delete method as well. I think this is this has potential issues. So I'm going to just copy over my previous condition. I think that's a little safer to do. Rather than repeating the logic from the update method, we can define the same logic by calling the update method. Anyone that is authorized to update a chirp, but I really don't think this is a good thing to do. Updating our view, finally, we can add a delete button to the drop-down menu. Okay, let's do that. Line numbers would be nice. In the drop-down link thingy, it's not the edit, it's the index view. Was it over here? I think so. Yeah, okay. Testing it out. Let's give it a try. Delete. It works. Nice. Hi there. Okay, maybe I'm a little impressed with how quickly that was. Let's take a quick look at the post still. So the route, we're going to destroy a specific chirp. Method delete CSRF token. And a button, it's basically, and some JavaScript. That's probably because of the, what's it called? The drop-down. One thing I did always find a little annoying is that, take a look, chirp delete, authorize delete, function destroy. Why is this not called delete? Someone once came up with index create, store, show, edit, update, destroy. And we keep using that same like naming convention, but this is really this annoys me, but it's fine, of course. Let's continue to notification and events. Let's take Chirper to the next level by sending email notifications when a new chirp is created. In addition to support for sending email, Laravel provides support for sending notifications across a variety of delivery channels, including email, SMS, and Slack. Actually, I think Laravel's notification system is like really impressive. Plus a variety of community-built notification channels have been created. Creating the notification. Again, Artisan can do all the hard work for us. That's great. So let's make, it's wrong. Let's make a new notification. So new chirp. So, and there are dog blocks here. Spassy forgot some of the stubs. Let's remove them. Okay, so a new chirp notification. This is a class that like represents a notification that's sent to a user, and it will probably need some. It will need some context data, of course, because this notification rather is specifically for chirps. So let's add it to the constructor. Let's also to mail. Let's have a look. To mail and to array. I'm actually not sure why to arrays here. Maybe that was explained in the doc blocks that I removed. Now look at that. So this is interesting. We return a new mail message. Personally, I always wrote my notifications with like a rendered blade view, which probably also is possible in this case, but this seems to be like a mail message builder, like with a subject, a greeting, a line, an action, another line. Okay, that's cool. Let's just wait and see what it looks like. We could send the notification directly from the store method on our chirp controller class, but that adds more work for the controller, which in turn can slow down the request, especially as we'll be querying the database and sending emails. That's a good thing to mention. Like these kinds of side effects, they probably don't belong directly in the controller. Instead, let's dispatch an event that we can listen for and process in a background queue to keep our application snappy. Okay. Events are a great way to decouple various aspects of your application, since a single event can have multiple listeners that do not depend on each other. I think it's actually great that they're showing some event-driven stuff here. It adds a layer of indirectness, which also means a layer of complexity, but especially in case of like notifications and stuff like that, the event-driven approach is far more superior. So this will, now we have an event class, chirp created, right? Chirp created. And we'll have to make some changes to that. Well, we'll only need to know about the chirp, the specific chirp this event was dispatched for, of course. And then we still need to dispatch the event. You may dispatch events anywhere in your application, but as our event relates to the creation of an eloquent model, we can configure our chirp model to dispatch the event for us. Yes. This is a nice shorthand for like model-specific events. So by adding this configuration array, Laravel will know that once a chirp is created, it will have to dispatch this event. It's a nice shorthand, but one thing I kind of find difficult is that like these events names, they are, you have to know them, right? Let's take a look, Laravel models in docs, eloquent events somewhere. Yeah, look, these are the events that are available. And every time you want to use like this dispatches event mapping, you have to know about what those events are called. And I don't know, this is something that still can be improved in Laravel. It's like these tiny little things. It would be nice being able to use like a constant here or an enum, but that's not possible, I think, because enums... Can you use enums in array keys? No, you cannot. You can probably use the enum value, but that's not as clean. Anyway, just a minor remark. I hope this gets improved at some point in the future. Now, anytime a new chirp is created, the chirp created event will be dispatched. Okay, and the next thing we will have to do is to create an event listener. So when the chirp is created, we'll dispatch this event, and then we'll have a listener that handles that event, and from that listener we'll send this new chirp notification. So let's create our event listener. Send chirp notification. Oh, this also has doc blocks. Okay. And let's take a look. We can probably get rid of the constructor here. And this one handles the chirp created event. That's good. And then we're going to add some logic here. So for every user where the ID isn't equal to the chirp's user ID, we're going to notify those users with a new chirp. So for every chirp that's created that isn't your own, you're going to receive an email, basically. That's quite impressive, but okay, it's a good example. We're using a cursor here. Let's read about it. We've marked our listener with the should queue interface. Oh, did we? No, I forgot about that. Should queue. So let's continue. So we've marked our listener with the should queue interface, which tells Laravel that the listener should be run in a queue. By default, the synchronous queue will be used to process jobs synchronously. However, you may configure a queue worker to process jobs in the background, something like Laravel Horizon, of course. It makes sense that the Bootcamp doesn't really go into that, but another very powerful Laravel tool, and amazing that it comes just out of the box. It's one composer command away. It's crazy. We've also configured our listener to send notifications to every user in the platform, except the author of the chirp. In reality, you might annoy users, exactly. So you may want to implement a following feature. Okay, makes sense. Registering the event listener, which we still have to do in the... This will tell Laravel to invoke our event listener when the corresponding event is dispatched. We can do this in our event service provider, and let's add it over here. Chirp created. I would probably prefer to use subscribers in this case, because here you're doing a manual mapping from Chirp created to this listener. But if you look at the listener's method here, you can already see it accepts one specific event, so you shouldn't really need to manually map it. But that's okay. Laravel also supports subscribers, by the way. Listeners might be just an easier concept to understand. If you are developing via Docker or Laravel Sail, you may utilize Mailhog. I'm not using Docker. Open Mailhog. We've configured our notification not to send to the Chirp author, so be sure to register at least 2 user accounts. Then go ahead and post a new Chirp. Okay, so maybe this part should also mention what you should do if you're not using Docker. Luckily, I know of a Spatie package again, Laravel Mail Preview. Let's install this one, which will basically just preview the mail in our browser. And transport mail.php. Transport should be preview here. And we should add a middleware in kernel over here. And register some routes. Okay, maybe these are quite a lot of steps to add in a bootcamp. So I'm not sure how you could make that clear. But anyway, let's write a tweet, a chirp. Chipper, also good. And an email was just sent. Let's take a look. New chirp from Brent to Chipper. Go to Chirper. Thank you for using our application. Great. Looks like it's working. Sending emails in production. To send real emails in production, you will need an SMTP server. Yeah, okay. Continue to learn about deploying your application. Okay, so I'm not going to do this because I don't have a server set up. But I think it's actually very nice that they added a page about deploying stuff. This is really valuable information. Okay, let's go to the conclusion. You've now built a fully functional application using Laravel. We really hoped you enjoyed the experience. I did. I had a couple of remarks, but I mean, some things were just very personal. And Laravel is just a great framework. We've really only scratched the surface. That's absolutely right of what is possible with Laravel. Keep experimenting and adding features to Chirper. There are many more features in Laravel that help you to build modern applications while allowing you to stay focused on the unique aspects of your application. We've mentioned a few extra features along the way, but we recommend reading the complete documentation. Wow, that's quite a lot of reading, but makes sense. Here are a few of our favorite features: automated testing, broadcasting with WebSockets, form request validation queues, task scheduling, file storage, HTTP client, database seeding, collections, subscription billing, administration panel, server management. Wow. Yeah, there are quite a lot of things here. Some things are paid, by the way, like serverless deployments are Vapor, which are paid. And server management is Forge probably, which is also a paid product. But I mean, this is how Laravel works. I think it's a great way of monetizing an open source framework. We'd love to hear what you think about Laravel. Follow Laravel on Twitter and let us know your thoughts. Go build something amazing. I definitely did. Yeah, this was great. It's a great bootcamp. It really touches on the core of any MVC application, which is CRUD controllers. And it's nice that they added notifications as well. Maybe they could have added just, I don't know, a little bit more of these things. But you also want to keep it very low level. And I think they managed to do that. Yeah, great. Laravel is a great framework. go check it out, bootcamp.laravel.com, if you want to get started with it. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, leave your comments and thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time if you, of course, subscribe. Bye-bye.